A few years ago, my girlfriend and I moved in together for the first time. It was new, unfamiliar, and for the first few weeks, it felt normal. We didn't think we'd moved into a place with a history. We were wrong. At first, it was just noises at night. Nothing crazy. We brushed it off. Our cat hadn't warmed up to sleeping in the bedroom yet, so we figured it was him wandering around. One night we were lying in bed, watching something on the TV. When we heard it, something scurried through the apartment. We looked at each other and laughed. Cat, right? Then she grabbed my arm, hard. I looked over, about to say something, and saw she wasn't even looking at me. Her eyes were locked past me, toward the foot of the bed. The cat was there, fast asleep. Whatever had just run through the house wasn't him. We sat up, killed the lights, and turned the flashlight on my phone. I walked out into the living room slow, checking every room. Nothing. No overturned objects. No open doors. No explanation for how loud it had been. We tried to rationalize it. We couldn't. That was the first time. It wouldn't be the last. Things got weirder. One night stands out. We had friends over for dinner and games. It ran late, but they lived just around the corner, so nobody worried about the time. When they finally left, my girlfriend said she'd help them carry the games to the car and be right back. I heard the washer stop and beep, so I went to move the clothes to the dryer. Halfway through loading it, the front door opened and slammed shut. I called out to her, thinking she was pissed about something. 1 minute, she answered. Her voice was sharp. That didn't sit right. She'd been fine all night. I stopped what I was doing and went looking. She wasn't in the living room, not in the bedroom, not in the bathroom. I figured she'd gone back outside, so I sat on the couch and waited. After a while, I got tired of waiting and went back to the laundry room. That's when I heard the door open again. I walked out, and there she was, walking into the living room like nothing had happened. Calm, good mood. I asked her what was going on. She said she'd gone with our friends to their place, helped bring everything inside, and they dropped her back off. She apologized for not saying anything first, but it was right around the corner. Then I asked her why she'd come back inside and slammed the door. She stared at me, confused. I didn't come back inside, she said. I still hear that line in my head sometimes. I told her what I'd heard. She didn't believe me. Not until I walked back to the dryer. Every single piece of wet clothing was on the floor in front of it. Pulled out, spread across the floor. No explanation, no draft, no cat, no reason. After that, we started looking for another place. We asked the property manager if anyone else had complained about the apartment. She looked shocked at first. Then, as we kept talking, her face changed. She sat us down and told us the truth. The woman who lived there before us had an accident in the apartment. She died on the way to the hospital. She had a 6-year-old son. Nobody had lived in the unit after that, until us, about 5 months later. The last month was the worst. We saw shadows move when nothing was there. The closet door would open on its own, slow, like someone was testing it. Knowing what we knew now made it 10 times worse. On one of our last nights, we both woke up to the TV shutting off by itself. The closet door was cracked open again. We heard movement, not outside, inside. We tried to lie still and ignore it. It got louder. It sounded like things were being moved around in the same room as us, but nothing shifted when we looked. The noise moved to the bedroom, then above us. Like someone was walking across the roof in a slow, uneven rhythm. Then came the tapping, like pencils being dropped from the ceiling onto the hardwood floor, one after another, all over the apartment. All night, we heard movement, around the bed, in the hallway, in the corners where the light didn't reach. We had nowhere to go, nowhere that felt safe. That was the scariest night of my life. Since then, I don't sleep the same. Paranoia sticks to you after something like that. I don't know what was in that apartment, but I know it wasn't our cat. It kept happening in every closet in every room, like someone was systematically checking each one. The door was always left slightly open, always when I was alone, always when I told myself I was just being paranoid. When we lived in New Orleans, we had a nice little 2-bedroom apartment, just my girlfriend, now my wife, and I living together for over 4 years. The apartment was nice and spacious and came at a great price. We felt pretty lucky. I guess it's relevant to mention that my wife works weekends sometimes, and I don't. That means sometimes I get to hang out all day by myself. In that particular morning, I woke up early, like really early, 5:30 a.m. It was a Sunday, and to no avail, my girlfriend wasn't in the mood for my shenanigans. So I resigned myself to make some coffee and sit on my computer, lazily browsing the internet. It wasn't notable the first time, so I don't remember when I saw it. But in our little office space, there was a closet. This was full of art supplies for my wife and cleaning supplies for me. The thing I noticed was it was ajar, just a little bit, the smallest of cracks. I pushed the door closed without thinking twice and went to crack some eggs. Breakfast drew my wife out of her slumber, and as she ate, I left the dishes to soak and wandered back over to the bedroom and turned on the TV. She yelled by on her way out, and it wasn't long until I was alone. I was barely watching TV and scrolling through my phone. I didn't remember falling asleep, but I must have. Dreaming of something chasing me, usually zombies or some variation. Something about the psychology of your friends and loved ones betraying you and becoming a threat always shook me to my core. My eyes snapped open and I thought I heard footsteps. I looked around and saw nothing. The clock said 9:00 a.m. She wouldn't be back this early. Maybe it was just part of the dream. I sat back and tried to play some video games on the computer, but nothing really scratched the itch I had. I glanced over and saw the door to the closet open again. Just a crack, just large enough for someone to see through. I thought this to myself and gave myself goosebumps, then shook my head. Nah, I'm not interesting enough for someone to hide in my closet. I opened the closet door to confirm my feelings. Nothing but a tray of paints that had gotten stale because someone forgot to put the caps back on, and a full vacuum that someone forgot to empty. I blamed both on my GF and closed the door, closing it tightly, and even giving it a light tug to make sure. I walked back to the master bedroom to shower, and looking over, I saw the spare room closet door open. Just a crack, just a small hair open. I had the stomach drop panic moment, and tried to shake it off. Again, who is going to hide in my little ass apartment? I walked over with the confidence of a high school jock in a 90s slasher, opened the door to the closet, and met with nothing but Christmas decorations and my interview suit. There wasn't enough room to even hide in the closet if you wanted to. I closed the door the same as the other closet, tugging on the knob to make sure it was tightly closed. I then began to imagine what I would actually do if someone was in there. The answer is probably shit the bed and run. That continued normally from there. I made lunch, played online with friends, and just loafed around the apt. My GF came home and we made dinner together. As we were getting ready for bed, I remembered the silly things happening this morning and looked over to see the spare room closet door open. Just a little bit. Just enough to watch someone from. I knew I closed it. I knew it couldn't just blow open on its own. I walked up and opened the door expecting something, but found nothing again. I pushed the suit back and rooted around, looking for some reason. Am I going crazy? I thought about saying something to my GF, but didn't. Every time I walked by that room, I checked and the door was latched closed. It never opened. The other closet remained closed too. I checked other parts of the apt. Cabinets in the kitchen, spare bathtub, and master closet. Anywhere a person might hide. I never found anyone. I didn't sleep well that night, and woke up at the tiniest noise. Every time I checked, nothing. Doors were firmly closed. I finally found some peace, and slept. That morning I woke up and found the front door was open. Just a little bit. Just a crack. Just enough for someone to look in and see us. We moved across the country. We have a house now, and to my demand, cameras cover all the entrances. I'm certain someone was in my apartment, but I can't prove it. My wife thinks I'm just paranoid and watch too many movies, but I know someone was opening doors. I actually found out my wife, whom I had lived with for 4+ years, likes doors to be open because she thinks the closets smell stale when they're closed. She had been opening closet doors for years on me. I just hadn't noticed until I was home alone and a little paranoid. If you notice, each open door lines up with the time she was home to this day. I find closet doors that shouldn't be opened. Not lying about the cameras. Those are the only way I feel comfortable knowing it's just her opening doors in my house. The front door was open that morning. It was probably just that we forgot to lock it and it blew open. I've lived in the same apartment for 7 years. My neighbor across the hall has been there since the 80s. He's 53 now. He's also diagnosed with schizophrenia. I know that because this is a small area, and a lot of people here used to know him. He was an artist, even taught at the university for a while. After the diagnosis, everything unraveled. Jobs didn't stick. Friendships faded. His temper got worse. He's a big guy too. Over 6.5 feet, easily over 220 pounds. Quiet most of the time. But when he's agitated, the whole hallway feels smaller. So yeah, everyone who lives here keeps their distance. You learn not to set him off. For me, it started about 6.5 years ago, half a year after I moved in. I was coming home one night with a friend from university. We'd been out, had a few drinks, and we were fumbling with the old glitchy code lock at the front door. Then a voice came from behind us. "Hello, girls, what are you doing?" We jumped. He'd come up on us without a sound. He tried to sound friendly, but the way he was standing, too close, made both of us tense up. I said we were trying to get inside, but the lock was acting up again. He stared at me for a full 10 seconds, eyes running up and down, smirking. I was 19. It felt wrong immediately. "Do you live here?" he asked. "Apartment, right?" I hesitated, but I didn't know what else to say. "Yeah." He smiled wider. "Isn't your name?" My friend and I exchanged a look. We hadn't told him anything. We stayed quiet, and he just said, "All right, I'll help you." He punched in the code, held the door, watched us walk in. Then he unlocked his own door right next to mine and went inside. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he'd seen me before. 2 months passed, nothing. Then one weekday morning at 6 a.m., my doorbell rang. I lived alone, no people. So I did what I always did. Back then I stayed quiet, pretended I wasn't home. The ringing stopped after a while, but at 9 a.m., it started again. 3 hours later, who does that unless they live in the building? I stayed silent, heart pounding. At 11 a.m., I had to leave for class, so I tried to slip out fast. As soon as my key turned in the lock, his door opened. "Hello there," he said. "I've been trying to reach you all morning. Why didn't you answer? I knew you were home." I panicked, but I kept my voice flat. I was asleep, didn't hear it. He didn't buy it. "We have things to discuss, not much time, but I've handled it. Check under your doormat." He was rambling now, talking about things I couldn't follow. Something about a job he had to take care of, about keeping me safe. I looked down. Under the mat was a broken trowel, snapped clean in half. "Hide it," he said. "I did something with it. You need to help me." I didn't wait. I grabbed my bag and ran out of the building. I heard him start after me, then stop. That night I dreaded going home, but I had nowhere else to go. A few hours after I got back, the doorbell rang again. "Who's there?" I called through the door. I wasn't opening it. "It's me," he said. "I'm sorry about earlier. I just have so much to tell you." He started talking about a game, a real-life simulation he called Quest. He said I was part of it, that something was hidden in the garden shed outside, and I needed to come see it with him. I said no and called my dad. He lived a few blocks away. I needed someone to tell this guy to leave me alone. My dad came over, talked to him, and came back out saying I was overreacting. The guy must have played it calm for him. It made me feel worse, like no one believed me. The next day, we found out why. He'd torn apart the hallway, mailboxes ripped off the wall, a window smashed, the light fixture shattered. He'd gotten aggressive with his girlfriend and a few other neighbors. Police and an ambulance showed up. He was hospitalized. After that, his girlfriend left him. He spiraled after that. I still live here. He still lives across the hall. Sometimes months go by and I don't see him. Other times he's back at my door, ringing, talking, asking for favors, pulling me into whatever's happening in his head that week. I don't hate him. I feel for him. Schizophrenia is hell. But I'm also careful, because I know what happens when the wrong thing sets him off. And I know exactly how close my door is to his. For a few years after that, things were quiet. I'd run into my neighbor in the hallway maybe once a month. We'd nod, say hello, and keep moving. He didn't bother me. I didn't bother him. I think part of it was my boyfriend moving in. Part of it was me getting older and not feeling as helpless. And part of it was that he just seemed to leave me alone. But in November 2023, it started again. It began with the doorbell, multiple times a day. The first time I answered, my boyfriend was standing right behind me, so I actually opened the door. Hello, he said, swaying on his feet. His eyes wouldn't focus, and he reeked of alcohol. He was holding a burnt-out blunt between his fingers, even though smoking wasn't allowed anywhere in the building. I'm working on a new project, he told me. I might be playing music pretty loud. Hope you don't mind? I didn't want to pick a fight. My boyfriend was there, so I said, fine. I like loud music too. Just keep it down at night when people are sleeping. He smirked. I know. I've heard you playing music before. That threw me off. I don't play it that loud. Not loud enough for it to carry through concrete walls. But I let it go. Big mistake. From that night on, the music started, 24/7. Bass heavy, shaking the walls. At 3 a.m., my boyfriend and I would wake up with the floor vibrating under us. We tried everything. Called the police. It didn't help. Cut the power to the hallway. He just waited and turned it back on. Knocked on his door and asked him to stop. That only made him angrier. He'd yell back, "You're not my neighbor. If she has a problem, she can tell me herself." Which I did, more than once. Nothing changed. It felt like he wanted us to react. Like the more we begged, the more he turned it up. This went on until late January 2024. At the same time, he started showing up whenever I went out to smoke in the garden behind the building. He'd see me through his window, come outside and start talking. Personal questions, compliments about how I looked, long rants about his projects. He'd been hoarding junk out there for months, wood, metal, old tools. He said he was building a garden workshop and a bomb shelter in the basement. Nothing ever got built. The stuff just sat there, rotting. One night he asked if I wanted him to build me a bench so I could sit while I smoked. I said no. Another evening, I watched him drag garbage bags out of the basement. It looked like he was cleaning it out. It gave me a bad feeling I couldn't explain. When he came over, he asked me for lighters. I gave him a few, didn't ask for them back, and went inside. The next afternoon, I was home alone. No work, no classes. The doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was him. "Hi, can you come to my apartment? There's a friend of mine inside and something's wrong with his leg." I stared at him. "What friend? What's his name?" He hesitated, then gave me a name I'd never heard before. "How long has he been there? What kind of injury?" I asked, trying to see if he was lying or if something was actually wrong. "I don't know," he said. "He's been at my place for days. I can't explain what's wrong with his leg." I told him flat out, "I'm not coming into your apartment." He stepped closer. "I'm afraid you don't have a choice. You have to help me." I shut the door and locked it. There was no way I was stepping inside. Not after everything. Not when I had no idea what he'd do. A few days later, he rang again. "Come outside. There's a dead guy on the street. Help me." I went out, and the ambulance was already there. The body was covered. Nothing I could do. Then he started rambling. Something about a robbery. A homeless guy who froze to death. He said it was all connected. That some guy had robbed him, and now there was a body. And it meant something. I didn't understand any of it. Was it his friend from the apartment? Another person? Was he involved? Nobody seemed to think he had anything to do with it. The police talked to him, then left. But I don't know what to believe. This is a guy who made spiked brass knuckles and used them on a cop. A guy who carries a knife to dive bars and threatens people. I'm not scared of him like I used to be. Not with my boyfriend here, not now that I'm older. And weirdly, he's never been aggressive with me. He's threatened other neighbors, but with me, it's different. Like he sees me as separate from everyone else. I don't know why. I don't want to find out.